Algebra. Today we are looking at lesson 7.3, which is actually pretty similar to lesson 7.2. We're just looking at a few more of the properties of multiplication with exponents. Okay, so we're just getting more in depth, really, is all it is. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get going on it down here on page 434. Okay, problem 1 is about simplifying a power raised to a power. Okay, so the first one that they give us is into the fourth to the power of 7. Okay, so you'll notice that this entire thing is being raised to the 7th power. Okay, now that's going to be the same as into the fourth times into the fourth times into the fourth. Okay, and then so on until we get to 7 of them. Okay, if we were to simplify this further, this one would be into the not into the fourth, just n times n times n times n. This one would be times n times n times n times n, and then so on all the way out to 7. Okay, now that's a lot, right? So what that tells us is we can go ahead when we have this and multiply 4 times 7. Okay, so instead of adding this time, we're multiplying to get into the 28th. Okay, that's only if the power is being raised to a power. Okay, that's different from this, what we did previously. Okay, that one we would just add them. Okay, but these two are very different things because we are working with just the exponents here, whereas this one, we are multiplying the variables together. Okay, so that's kind of how these work. Another good example that I think is important to see, sorry if I erased that too quick, by the way. If I did, just go ahead and go back. Another good example is example B, where they have x to the power of 2/3, and then they raise it to the 1/2 power. Okay, that one's good. Now we're just doing x to the 2/3 times 1/2, which will give us x to the 1/3. Okay, so like I said, you just want to multiply these together to get your new power. All right, so at this point, I want you to go ahead and try out problems B and C on your own. And then when you finish that, we'll come back together as a class. Okay, problem 2 is pretty interesting. We have y to the 3rd, and then times in parentheses y to the 5/2 to the power of -2. Okay, this one it's asking you to use order of operations. Okay, now this is where it can get a little bit confusing. Okay, but we just want to follow the same order of operations that we would do anyway. Okay, so our first step is parentheses. There's our parentheses. We can't do anything inside there, so we can move on to exponents. Okay, now we have exponents here and here, but they're being raised to a higher exponent, so we've got to do that one first. Okay, so there we go. Couldn't get that to erase. There we go. And then I'll erase this one as well. There we go. All right, so we have y to the 3rd times y to the 5/3 times -2. Okay, that will give us y to the 3rd, and then in parentheses, now we have y to the -10/3. Okay, and then when we go ahead and simplify that further, we should get y to the 3rd minus 10/3, which will give us, let's see, that would be the same as y to the 9/3 minus 10/3. So we should get y to the -1/3. Okay, from there, again, negative exponent, we flip it. So 1 over y to the 1/3 power. Okay, so I've just realized that I made a mistake in here. For some reason, I accidentally changed this to a 3. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and redo all that work. If you understood what I was doing there, it's not a big deal if you just left it at what you had, but I'm going to redo that for you just because I think you might appreciate that. So instead it would be y to the third times y to the 5/2 times -2, which is then going to give us y to the third times y to the power of -5. Okay, then from there we have y to the third minus 5, which will be y to the -2nd, or 1 over y squared. Okay, that one's much cleaner than what we originally had. So sorry I messed that up the first time. That's what we really should have gotten. Okay. So go ahead and try one of those out on your own. Actually, let's do 2 because those are a little bit more difficult. So you'll do A and B. And after you do that, we will go ahead and move on again. All right, so towards the bottom of page 435, we've got one more problem we're going to look at. We're looking at problem 4, okay, and this one is a little bit difficult as well, just a little bit more in depth. Okay, so we have n to the 1/2 power to the 10th power times 4mn to the -2/3 to the 3rd power. Okay, now we want to kind of distribute things the same way that we would with normal problems. Okay, really that means the 10's got to go to the n, but then it also means this 3 has to go to the n, the m, and also the 4. Okay, reminder, the -2/3 does not go to all of them. Okay, so when I rewrite this, I'm going to go ahead and take care of this n. So we have n to the 1/2 times 10, which will give us n to the 5th, right? Because 5 is 1/2 of 10. Okay, and then the other part of it, we've got 4 to the 3rd times m to the 3rd times n to the 3rd. Wait, sorry, not n to the 3rd, hold on. N to the -2/3 to the 3rd. Okay, so now I can go ahead and simplify this a little bit further as well. So 4 to the 3rd, I should on that one get 64. Okay, and then m to the 3rd stays the same. And then this n part, I'm going to go ahead and pull it out really quickly just to make it a little bit cleaner and easier to tell what we're doing. So I have to the -2/3 times the 3rd power, which will give us n to the -2nd power, right? Because these two 3's will cancel. All right, so now I can go ahead and plug that back in. Okay. So then I just simplify, right? So I'm going to put the n's together. So to do that, I'm going to have 64m to the 3rd times n to the 5th minus 2, okay, which will give us 64m to the 3rd, m to the 3rd, n to the 3rd. Okay, and that should be it. So I checked my answer. This time I did not make a mistake in there. So, yep, we are good on that one. So like I said, it's a little bit more confusing. There's a few more steps, but I want you to go ahead and try it out. So try got it problem 4A. And then go ahead and we'll just call it there. We'll take it a little bit easier. Okay, so try got it problem 4A, and then we'll move on one more time. All right, so the last little bit, this is on page 436. We're not going to go into solving this one because I don't want to take this video too long, but I kind of just want to make sure that we understand how it works with scientific notation, which is that it works pretty much the same way as what we just did, right? So you can see here, they have a 2, an exponent outside of the actual scientific notation. So basically, they're just going to distribute that 2 onto these two numbers. And then the rest is really just solving the exact same way that we just solved with problem 4. Okay, so not a whole lot extra to it. Just be aware that that's what you're looking at for scientific notation. And again, make sure this number is between 1 and 10. If it's not, you'll have to move the decimal, and that'll change your exponent on the 10. Okay. Other than that, that's it for this video. There's not going to be another got it problem for that. You've already done quite a few got it problems, so I'm going to leave you to it, and then I will see you guys in class.